Hello. Fantastic. Thursday has rolled around again and we are live. So welcome to Q&A Thursday, everybody. It's great to see you here. Great to have you join me. We've got a really fantastic session on today. We had a great question that came through. So I'm really excited to share that with you. So before we start, though, we've got to do a bit of housekeeping. So if you can let me know whether you are online by putting a hi there in the comments box. So down in the right-hand corner of your screen, you will see a chat box. And if you can just say hi, all that, or, that you can see and hear me, that would be fantastic. So welcome to Q&A Thursday, everybody. Just let me know you're out there so that I can start knowing that you can see and hear me. Hi, Belinda. Nice to see you. Or know that you're there. Fantastic. Okay. Have we got any more on bone? Hi, Betty. Great to see you. How's Hong Kong today? Oh, fantastic, Betty. Great to see you here. All right. I reckon we can be seen and heard. Fantastic. All right. It's very hot, is it? Oh, okay. Well, it might better be very hot because it's very cold over in Australia at the moment in a lot of places. So make the most of it. All right. 35 degrees. Oh, sounds like bliss to me. I think we've got 11. All right. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. It's great to have you here. I am really excited because I've got some great stuff to share with you today. We had a great question came through Q&A Thursday, and it was all about leading multicultural teams and how do you handle that as a leader? How do you handle multicultural teams? And so we're going to speak about that today. So I'm really excited to share that with you. I think, hey, Sam, how you going? Great. And there's a few more out there that's just lurking. That's okay. As long as I can be seen and heard, that's the main thing. All right. So we have got a great session on today. As I said, it's all about leading multicultural teams and what can we do to ensure that everybody feels like that they are contributing and part of that team, and we're doing it in a really impactful way. So without further ado, let me share my screen with you. We've got some really great stuff to share. And as per usual, if you've got any thoughts, queries, insights that you want to share with me, then feel free to just have a chat on the chat line. And if you've got any questions, then I'll answer them as soon as I can. All right. So this came in from a gentleman called Boat. And I believe he was telling me that he's from Vietnamese descent and he is a leader of a multicultural team, and there's some barriers for him with regards to how people react to things and all that sort of stuff. So this was a really great question, and I think it's quite relevant for a lot of us that are leading teams at the moment. So we're going to get cracking on. Okay, so what do we do? So what could the struggles be? So if you're leading a multicultural team, what can the struggles be? And, regardless of whether you're leading a multicultural team or not, there can be some struggles. You might face problems when you're setting, your norms for your team. There could be problem-solving issues. There could be confrontation, where you decide to spend your time and where you decide to spend your resources. So that's with any team. Right, so it doesn't really matter whether you're multicultural or not. But what can come with more multicultural teams is the different expectations for respecting hierarchy could be something there. Gender issues could be an issue. Any status indicators, so managers, so how we react to those people in charge. There could be a pre-existing stigma in your workplace that's got a bit of prejudice that's spilling into the workplace. You might have a lack of common ground with regards to language and culture, which can cause, misunderstandings. There could be differing interpretations too. So interpretations of certain words or level of commitment or, whether agreement's been reached and all those sorts of things. So leading teams is hard enough. When you're leading a multicultural team, there could be other bits and pieces that come in there that can make things quite difficult for you and quite a challenge. So we're going to talk about that today, and hopefully you can glean some insights from the following things that I've got to share with you. So what are the things that you can do? So one thing is to ensure there's no preferential treatment, and that's sometimes really hard to do because you tend to get on with people that are your own culture because there's a level of understanding there much quicker than you get on with other cultures because there might be a bit of a lack of understanding there. So, you know, it's really, really hard for a leader, but you have to make sure that there's no preferential treatment. So you've got to give feedback and socialize with the whole group, not just cultural similar individuals as yourself. Okay, so make sure that if you've got some great feedback about a task that's happened or what the team's done, or you're socializing with the team, just make sure everybody's invited and included and we're not excluding anybody in that. And try to minimize the discussions on country-specific customs or sports, or, you know, not everybody enjoys them. So we might think it's funny that, you know, the English cricket team are losing in the World Cup or whatever, and having a bit of a joke and a laugh about it. But we need to be aware of the people around us, and is that, you know, becoming offensive. So there's just some certain things that you need to be a little bit more mindful of, and be careful that those discussions don't head down that path. So just quickly, make sure that you're giving feedback or socializing with the whole group, and also not just cultural similar groups. So even if it's a quick one, or, you know, you're walking through and you say to someone, hey, the manager said, you know, we're doing really well on that particular task. Make sure everybody knows about that. And also try to minimize country-specific sort of customs or sports or anything like that, because they can offend, but those people may not tell you that it's offensive. So that's just something to be aware of. Another thing that we need to do is also set some ground rules. We've really got to draw the line in the sand with regards to, you know, common language for meetings. So if you're going to meet as a team, what's that common language you're going to use? Try not to use colloquial or slang for your country. Try and use language that everybody's going to understand. Expectations of timing. So some cultures believe, you know, timings are a rough around here. If you're going to draw a line in the sand saying we need to be here on the dot at this time, just so everybody is aware of the expectation of timings, and, you know, attendance to other things, you know, just be really, really good in establishing those ground rules. And when you're dealing with disagreements on the team, I think it's really, really important to outline what is acceptable with regards to criticising or disagreement or correcting one another. You know, if you've got some cultures in your workplace that are a bit loud and waving their arms around and being quite animated, that could be quite aggressive to some other people that are in your group. So try and make sure that, you know, you outline what's acceptable with regards to that, and the reasons why. So, you know, I think that's important. And the other one with the setting ground rules too is when you're agreeing to a particular change, whether that's you're changing your team meetings or you're changing something in the team or you're delivering tasks, do it in multiple ways. So yes, you can tell through your voice. Maybe you can draw it up on a whiteboard or a butcher's paper, and also go and revisit that a couple of times after you've had that agreement that, yes, this task needs to be done. Yes, I know what to do, and revisit that a couple of times. So remember that task I told you about yesterday? So how are you going with that? Tell me about that. So you can really check for understanding and making sure somebody has got a level of understanding with that. I think that's really, really important. So you can talk about it, you can write it up, you can let it sit for a while, so give people time reflection to reflect on it, and then go and revisit it and just make sure that everybody is aware of what their part is in that particular task. So setting ground rules is going to be really, really important, and you may have to reiterate them a number of times just to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So another one is understand what your culture brings to the table. So try and speak in a language that everyone's fluent with, if possible. and try and separate your emotions out of any delivery. So, you know, your culture might be, so if you've got Mediterranean culture, they're very animated with their arms. Or if you've got an American culture, they might be quite aggressive with the way they speak. If you're French, you could come across as a bit pushy sometimes, but that's just part of the culture and how you speak. So just try and understand what your own culture brings to the conversation, and try and think, well, how does that impact others? Okay, so it might just be something that you need to do there. And also try and remain current on political issues and things going on in the countries of origin from their people, because there may be things happening in their country that may impact them, and you need to be aware of that. So, you know, keep abreast of current events and make yourself aware of what's going on. And then, you know, you can have an open discussion about that if you think it is impacting your people. So, you know, maybe that's something that you need to be aware of. So not only be aware of your own culture and how it can come across, but also be aware of other people's country of origin and what's going on in there, because there might be things that's happening in that country that will have impact to people on your team. People on your team could still have family members or friends over there, and they get a bit worried and they get a bit concerned if there's some unrest or whatever. So there's just things that will probably be really good for you to know in front, so that then you can have those discussions following. So that's something that we need to be aware of. So what else can we do? Really, really important to resolve conflict and get onto it really, really quickly. So you need to intervene as early as possible, and make sure that you're keeping the conflict away from any sort of cultural bias. Okay, so understand the root of the problem and then fix the problem, not try and fix people. So so that's really, really important. And the sooner you can nip it in the bud, the better it's going to be for everybody. So don't let things fester. If you know there's some unrest, if you know there's some conflict going on, if you know that there's some people that aren't getting on with each other, then, you know, let's go to that and resolve it as quickly as we possibly can. And try and work out how you can embrace mistakes. So I know sometimes there's work cultures that go, if someone gets a mistake or makes a mistake, you know, we hit them over the head with a stick. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean? There's a disciplinary thing that happens. And I think if it comes to safety or, you know, lots of loss of product or whatever, those lines sometimes need to go down. So if you've reiterated time and again that people have to wear their safety glasses or whatever, and some people are just not doing it, then obviously you've reiterated that, you've talked about it, you've coached them around it, you've supported them. Now you have to go down a disciplinary line. But just make sure that we've done all that coaching, supporting and all that sort of stuff prior to going down the disciplinary line, because there may be a misunderstanding about the reasons why we need to wear those safety glasses. You know, if you come into work and say, look, here's some pictures of people that have lost eyes or got acid in their eyes because they're not wearing safety glasses, all of a sudden you're dialing up the benefits of why they need to wear safety glasses. So there's that coaching and supporting that you need to do prior to going down the disciplinary line too. So make sure that you resolve those quickly. Okay, what else do we need to do? So you want to foster the norms of trust, and that means you want to foster a trusting sort of culture within the team, and that means being quite open and honest with people. So get people face to face where you can. It might only be twice a year or whatever, and instead of doing the normal training and all that sort of stuff, talk about values, talk about how it's okay to have different values, but we can still work together as a team. You know, there might be religious differences, there might be cultural differences, there might be gender differences, age differences, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately that diversity actually makes us stronger. So that's where you want to sort of focus the conversations on how we can leverage off each of those strengths and how our values and how our differing values can come together and make us a high performing team. So that's what you want to do. Celebrate everybody's differences, come together if you can twice a year and talk about how that's adding value to the team versus, you know, oh, we're going to do some training and all that sort of stuff. I think when you've got a multicultural team, just, you know, making sure we're celebrating everybody's difference really makes that change work. So that's really, really important, trying to get that trust, trying to be open and honest with each other from the very get-go. And the way that you do that, the way that you make that as an example, is that you share things of yourself. You share a little bit about your family, your hobbies, your wants, your interests, and then other people will start to share. And then you start to realize, oh, you know, Tom over there is from, you know, from somewhere in Europe, and I know that he's got friends and family still over there, and he's got, you know, the rest of his family are here, and he's been here for 6 years. And, you know, all of a sudden you start to get that level of understanding about people, and you start to learn a bit more about them. So that's really, really important to gain that trust. Okay. So the next one we've got create and monitor your goal clarity. So we've already talked about the importance of setting goals in one of the modules of the Unlocking Portal. And I can't reiterate this even more when you've got a multicultural team. It's really, really important to have that goal clarity and create that really, really clear goal setting. So how can you do this? Okay, so if you're having a meeting and you're about to set some goals because a new task has come through, or you're doing a new product, or, you know, a new piece of equipment's come on the line, or whatever may have happened, you really need to, if you're going to have that meeting, set the agenda beforehand and hand the agenda out. So people from different backgrounds have the time to reflect on it and go, right, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what the agenda of the meeting is. I know how I can participate here. So let them reflect on that, let them prepare any questions that they may have, and plan how they're going to express themselves within that meeting. And then the next thing you want to do is assign real clear goals for each of your people. So, you know, make sure that they know it. So don't just tell them about it, write it up, give them a handout with it on, and make sure that they're really clear. Get them to, you know, read it back to you almost and get their level of understanding with it. If you just say, do you understand, and they nod, there's some cultures that the nod means, yes, I'm listening, but I'm not understanding. So we have to be really clear and ask them to almost, you know, say, how are you going to do this? So what do you see yourself doing to get this done? And then it's really, really important to measure that frequently. So I don't mean every day, but if there is a task that goes over a 3-month period, for example, you might want to check in with them on a fortnightly basis for the first, you know, month, maybe a couple of fortnights, and then go to monthly if they're doing really well. But try and make it a frequent measuring of how they're going with that goal, because there's some cultures that are a little bit shy in coming to you asking for extra support or resources. So we need to get that highlighted early in the piece so we can set them up for success to ensure that they get that done. So make sure if you've got a big task, make sure you cut it down into bite-sized pieces before you even give it out to your team. So there might be this overarching task of bringing a new product on the line, or, you know, increasing our customers for a period of time, or whatever it may be. But you think about how you can pull those down into bite-sized pieces and then give those out to your team. So they're small, you know, easier to take on board and more likely to reach a successful result. So make sure that it's not one final delivery that you're giving people, but you're giving them bite-sized chunks so that they can do that. So that's really, really important, your goal clarity, and making sure when you're creating and monitoring that, you've got some really clear goals. So monitor member contributions as too. So you're going to have some people that are more introverted, that are not as spoken, but they still have great ideas. They still contribute really well, and they do it in their own way. So make sure that you understand how people contribute into the workplace. So just because someone's really fluent in speaking your language doesn't necessarily mean that the idea or that you know, innovation came from them. So make sure that you get to know all your people, because you might find that somebody's got strengths in a real great area that's going to be really, really important, but English is their second language. So how do you find out how we can leverage off that strength and get them into a place where they can really make a difference? So make sure that your native speaking people don't dominate meetings. That's if you give your agenda out beforehand, you can go and speak to those people that you think are a little bit quieter and go, hey, listen, I think you can really contribute here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this particular part of the meeting. So can you just prepare something or whatever? Give them time to think about that. And then make sure that we are celebrating contributions from everybody, and not just those that are more fluent in our particular language. So just remembering, just because somebody's really articulate into explaining things doesn't mean they were the instigator of that idea. So we need to make sure that we're giving out the praise and recognition to those people that may be a little bit quieter as well. All right, so is there any thoughts about that? Because I think that's where we came from. So I'm just going to quickly reiterate what we've talked about. Remember, try not to give preferential treatment to cultural similar people as you, because it becomes very polarizing for the other people in the team. You start to lose trust then. So just make sure that you're giving the same amount of time and effort you can to everybody. So when you're giving feedback in that and you're socializing, everybody is participating, everybody's contributing. The second one was setting ground rules. So really drawing that line in the sand of your expectations and then supporting and coaching around that. So if somebody's 5 minutes late to a meeting and that's not part of your rules, everybody has to be there on time, then take that person aside and say, so we said there was a 3 o'clock meeting. What's your thoughts around that? Because I noticed you were 5 minutes late. And they might think, oh, well, 5 minutes, that's not a big deal. Well, that might be not a big deal in their culture, but it might be in yours. So we need to reset their expectations with lateness, for example. The third one was trying to speak in a language that everybody's fluent in, if possible, and try to remain current on people's political issues that might be happening in their country, because we know that it may impact them. If they've still got family and friends back in their homeland, then that's something that they're going to, be concerned about if things are happening. The other one is resolving conflict really quickly. So if you can see conflict in the workplace, nip it in the bud really early, get onto it really early and try and work out a resolution with those people. That's going to be your best option, because if you allow it to fester, it's going to get 10 times worse. And also the next one was fostering norms of trust. So try and get that trust built. And the way that we can do that is open ourselves up a little bit, share a bit of ourselves, and then ask about other people. So what did you do on the weekend? So how many kids have you got? So where do you come from? So what was that country like? All sorts of things like that. So you're getting that level of understanding of where people are from and what motivates them or what things are important to them and how their values are and all those sorts of things. The next one was create and monitor goal clarity. So we're going to be really, really clear with our goals. We're going to chunk them down into bite-sized pieces. And when we delegate them out to our team, we're going to really, really be sure that they have a level of understanding. So not only are we going to tell them about the task, we may write it up on a handout so they can take it away and reflect on it. And we're going to revisit those tasks. And we're going to measure them so quite regularly and go and see what support and resources they might need to make sure that we can be, setting them up for success. And then we're going to monitor members' contributions. So even if somebody is a little bit quieter or introverted, doesn't mean they're not contributing just as much. So we're going to embrace everybody's innovations, ideas, whether that's in a one-on-one, and then we can bring it to the team and say, hey, Tom over there had this great idea in our one-on-one that we're going to put into the team. Thanks, Tom, for that contribution. It was really, really, worthwhile, or whatever it may be. So we're recognising the contributions of all our team, not just the ones that are more fluent speakers or more articulate in what they need to say. All right, so that's it. So how did we feel about that, everyone? Is that something that resonates with you guys? Is that something that you feel like is doable? And these are really, really simple things, but it makes a world of difference. So just see how you go with them. All right, I've got a couple of I've got a couple of announcements, but I want to give you the opportunity. I'm going to get you back here. I'm going to give you the opportunity to have a bit of a chat about that. If you've got any questions, if you've got any thoughts, queries, please let me know, and we will talk about that. I think I've got a couple of announcements, really exciting announcements for you as well. So what I'm going to say is there is some new happenings on the Unlocking portal. So when I met some of our Ego Pharmaceuticals people a few months ago now, there was some great feedback saying, you know what, we'd really love a workbook that captures all the text in the Unlocking portal modules and captures all the activities and things into one sort of booklet that I can download and keep and reflect on. So we've taken that on board. We've gone to our graphic designers and we've actually created Module 1's workbook. So at the moment, it's going through our quality team to make sure everything is correct in there, and we'll be uploading that during the week. So watch out for that. I know most of you are past Module 1. We do have some newbies, so welcome to those newbies. You will be getting a workbook. But for those that have been on the program for some time, you may think, oh, well, you know, I've done Module 1 already, and that's okay. But I just wanted to let you know it's there, and we're going to be building up the modules as we go. So there'll be more workbooks that's getting introduced. All right. So has anyone got any questions, thoughts, queries about anything that we've spoken about today or anything else that they might have? So just let me know. Belinda, you're okay. Excellent. So Sam and Betty, have you got any questions for me? Even though you're struggling in the heat, Betty? I've got 3 layers on here. I'm cold. No worries. No worries, Betty. I hope they help you. All right, so fantastic, guys. We've got a really great session on next Q&A Thursday, so make sure you tune into that one. It's all about teamwork and how do we get our people working in as a really collaborative team. So that's going to be a good one. So watch out for that one. Join me next Thursday on Q&A Thursday. Hopefully you have a great rest of the day. Looking forward to the weekend. Toolkit Masters, you are on fire. Keep going, keep tuning into me, and keep on with that Unlocking portal. If you've got any questions, ask at teamleadertoolkit.com, and we will answer you within 24 hours. All right, so without further ado, I will see you next Thursday. Cheers, everyone. Have a great day.